Good morning and welcome to ASI's Tuesday morning show, where ASI's most outspoken staffers talk promo products. I'm Teresa Hegel, senior writer for Stitches and Wearables. With me today is CJ Mitica, editor of Wearables. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
So you went on the road tour last week. How was that?
It's fun but exhausting. That's
Yeah,
what I tell people.
yeah.
So we over the span of 5 days, we visited 13 companies, and every day we're staying in a different state and visiting 2 or 3 companies in a day. So it's super fun, but it's a ton of travel.
Yeah. What was the most crazy thing you guys saw at like a company?
Crazy
or
thing?
interesting or cool or I don't know, just notable, most notable.
So a couple things. We went to Jay's Specialty in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So they were having just a first half celebration for record sales, and so somebody had an air gun, and they were just like pumping it up and then firing their ammo 200 feet across the lot. So that was funny. And then in Quality Logo Products in Chicago, they had a little bounce house inside their office just for our visit. So
okay, it's not an everyday thing.
That was a fun little touch. I think it was a road tour first.
Okay, awesome. So today we're joined by Eric Campbell, digitizer and e-commerce manager for Black Duck Screen Printing and Embroidery in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Eric is also a regular on social media and a frequent blogger covering a wide range of topics. Today we're going to talk about e-commerce and online marketing. Hi, Eric.
Hi, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
Oh, doing well. Staying busy as always.
Okay. So I guess let's just start with the first question. So there's still a lot of businesses in our industry that don't even really have a real website, let alone any sort of e-commerce. So how does a lack of a web presence hurt businesses today?
Well, for one, I literally don't remember the last time I looked up a business any other way than online. In most cases, when I want to share information about a business with someone, I'm doing it over social media or at least over some sort of online messaging or texting. I don't want to downplay word-of-mouth referrals at all, but the social media referrals I'm talking about are the same as those word-of-mouth referrals. They're very important. It's just that social proof now, it really travels online, and it's attached to those online properties and that presence. That doesn't even take into account the fact that you have inbound marketing, where when you're putting out valuable content, when you have that web presence, you're going to grab people who are searching, and these people who are searching are often ready to buy. It's not that you don't exactly stop existing if you're not online, but it certainly doesn't help in our industry. If you had a local cafe, you've got foot traffic, you can rely entirely on reputation, that's great. But for an industry segment where we have a lot of business-to-business, we have customers who are big researchers. They want to see info, and your online presence is a huge part of that. Having a standalone kind of proper website, in my mind, still has a little bit more legitimacy than even people who kind of rely entirely on social media. And, if you only have a social media profile out there, I still think you need to have some sort of hosted site, some sort of your own presence, so you can control that kind of final landing spot, so people can see what you have to offer. You get to control that messaging. So how it really harms you, I'd say, if you don't have that web presence, is those researchers, those people who do kind of the deep dive and look for information, they're not going to like not having that information out there from you, and you're going to look a little less legitimate. And honestly, people like me who share everything via social media, who like to do the research and be the person who offers that information to other people, they're not going to have anything to offer when they share you.
So, say you have the website, but you want to set up a web store. What are some of the rules to remember when you're setting that up initially?
Absolutely, the first thing, this is website, web store, anything else you do, is you need to know who you're serving. If you have a general web store where it's going to have a wide range of people using it, then having a comprehensive catalog with a lot of different items, a lot of different concepts, that's a good thing to do. But if you're selling direct to one customer, one company, say you're setting up a company store for one kind of national organization, you want to control and curate what's there. You don't want to just blow up a ton of SKUs and have different decoration methods everywhere. You want to know what stuff serves them and what they need. Ultimately, though, you just want to make things simple for your customer. If it gets too Byzantine and too crazy, too hard to navigate, it's just not worth doing. The other thing we kind of tend to do, we like to talk about what we can offer, but we forget to sell people the benefit of our products. And so it's really all about knowing your audience and making sure that you make the website they need, not the website that shows what you want to tell. And I know it's hard to make that differentiation sometimes, but that's really important. The last thing I'd say about setting up your web store is about the technical solution. People are kind of always asking me what tools to use, and I say what's more important than that is just knowing that the tools fit your needs, both technically and otherwise. Say that they do the things that your customer needs, but that they also have the support behind them, so either from the company that sells them to you or the service provider who's managing it for the level of technology you're comfortable using.
Hey, Eric, it's CJ here. So, going online and seeing decorators' websites, I'm starting to see a lot more websites, integrating online designers. So, I guess how important do you think it is for distributors and decorators to be incorporating that? And what do you see the demand from the buying public for, those sort of online tools?
Once again, this really comes down to the audience you have and the clients you have. It depends on your market. Once again, the wide range of customers, you're dealing with a lot of different kind of customers. I like to have the online designer, but not all customers want to play design, I'd say, especially in the business-to-business. I would never stop selling professional design and art services and go entirely with online design at least, especially in that business-to-business segment. I like the idea of the online design, and it's becoming more ubiquitous. So very much like other things that have become ubiquitous, like having good product images, having the ability to share things socially, stuff that everybody expects. I think people are going to start expecting that there's an online designer there. At the same time, I would make sure always that there's kind of an out for the people who don't want to play designer, the people who want to have professional help. Whenever you're in the online designer, you shouldn't be any distance away from a contact information link or some call to action for selling those design services and that full solution, because we've seen a pretty strong split between those people. And honestly, working at an actual decoration company on the ground, what we see a lot of the time is somebody brings us a printed sheet from an online designer and they don't quite like what it is, and they'll come to us and say, please, can you do something professional to make this look better? I tried and it's driving me crazy. So it's not that you can't do online design right, and lots of people do it, but if you do, you want to make sure your templates are very well designed, that a professional does that part of it at least, especially if you're setting up your own templates, so that it's really easy, looks nice, looks clean, and that there's always a chance for people to have an out if they're getting frustrated.
Cool, great. So I know you mentioned talked about social media earlier, and we talked about e-commerce as well. So a lot of companies at least should be doing both, having that e-commerce solution and having a social media presence, a blogging presence. So how can you integrate the two and then make it sort of make worthwhile connections?
Well, I'd say, blogging is pretty critical, and I know that's something people don't like to hear because a lot of people are scared to blog and write. But blogging provides you natural language content that is just like the best fodder for search engines, and it's where you get to provide valuable information or things that kind of can humanize your company or that can delight the people who are out there. You have interesting things to share. Blogging is where that's happening. And the great thing about blogging is that it doesn't have to be an either-or thing with social media. I think it should be the base. I always tell people you have your website that's hosted. That's your place where you control your messaging. You should have a blog there. That's where you put out your content. But then social media becomes a place where you share that content and where you encourage more conversation. But it also funnels back, and it comes back to your blog, to your website, where you can have your calls to action, where you can offer your products, and where you can offer your solutions. So blogging and social media need to go together. And honestly, when you have e-commerce, that's the chief problem people have with e-commerce. They don't really promote it. They don't know what to do with it. They put it up there and they figure, they've got that put together. It's out there on their website. It's just going to start bringing in orders, but that's not the truth. You need to have blogging there. Moreover, you want to take a play from people like Gary Vaynerchuk. He's kind of the social media master out there. A lot of people have heard him because he talks a lot. But he runs searches on social media. He answers questions live from people. He gets out there and proactively makes these connections. Put that all together where you've got this ability to kind of set yourself up, provide valuable content, you become an expert that's known, and you kind of leave a big trail online, which is great. That trail is going to funnel people back to your site, back to your blog, where you can, as I always kind of say, control your messaging, have a chance for them to have a call to action, and make it into a real business conversation and not just the social media conversation you have.
Okay, so this is Teresa again, obviously, I guess. But, I guess we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but can you talk about some specific, common mistakes people make when they're doing, the online marketing, social media, and just, basic e-commerce and just online in general? What are some of the common mistakes specifically?
Absolutely. I certainly reiterate that the top mistake is not marketing at all. Mm-hmm. There's just some people who think they can load up a store, throw a ton of keywords at it, and it's enough to get people to search and buy, but it's just not the case. Mm-hmm. a big part of all of this is establishing who you are, both personally, if you're someone who's kind of the face of the company, and your company itself, what you do, and to get that kind of genuine voice that you have out there and promote your unique strengths. Even when you're talking about an e-commerce store, and I know it sounds like something that's pretty faceless, I think it's very important to highlight the company behind it and to highlight the customer service behind it and to share about your solution, what you can do. So definitely promoting yourself, doing marketing is important. People pull back on that far too easily. The second huge mistake is leaving everything on autopilot. If you're not responsive, you're not there. Nobody likes to be on hold on a service call. And the feeling people get when you have a social media profile or even just classic email and you're not answering that on a regular basis or you're not checking in with it when people ask you questions, it's a little bit worse than being on hold. You're pretty much telling people you don't care about them, whether you mean to or not. It's easy to forget that that's important. People just say, okay, what you need to do, get on Facebook, get on Pinterest, get on whatever, get on any of these platforms. But if you're only there occasionally and you're not answering questions when they come in, you might as well not be there at all. And then the last big hurdle, which I kind of already mentioned, is consistency. If you're going to, and it's not like everybody's doing this well. I'm not even saying I do it all. But when you're publishing, when you're blogging, when you're marketing, you can't think of it as like a one-shot deal where you throw out your messaging and then wait and see what happens. You have to be ready in advance, and you have to be consistent because you want to keep bringing that message home. And beyond that, people, when you're talking about offering content and value, the way you develop that following is by people knowing that you're a source for that content, for those solutions, for those ideas, and they're going to kind of keep returning to you. If you want to build a following of people who are going to share your content and bring people back to your stores, then consistency is pretty key.
So, Eric, just to wrap up, is there
Sure.
Can you cite any examples of companies in our industry or otherwise that excel at internet marketing or some of the other things we talked about?
I think I might diverge a little bit here and say that first before I can name any companies, and I think I might even abstain from naming some companies,
Sure.
I'd say that I'll give you a few names of people who are kind of teaching this stuff in a way that I think is going to give people actionable steps.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll start there. Anyway, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I mentioned earlier, he's putting out content pretty much daily. He's got video shows, he's got podcasts, he's got everything, and he tells you on the ground how to use social media. Not everybody likes Gary Vaynerchuk. He's an opinionated guy, but he does know what he's doing. And it's worth to check it out, though. You do have to be prepared to work if you're going to follow up what he does. He's a hustler. Seth Godin's another guy who's got really great ideas about business, and especially about business now, kind of post-mass marketing, where it's no longer just throwing up TV commercials. Seth talks a lot about tribes, which a lot of people will think of as niche marketing, but he goes a little deeper than that, and he talks about kind of this long tail, how where you are building communities. And then I would like to put in like Scott Stratton is a guy who runs a blog called Unmarketing. He also has a podcast, and a lot of what he does is talk about people who are doing customer service and social media marketing wrong. But sometimes those are the best examples ever, where you see people kind of flub it and they explain why they flubbed it, how they flubbed it, and it's a good reminder for all of us about what we're doing and what our voice is when we're out there. And so I think those are really valuable guys to check out, and there's a lot more people out there to talk about. And it's like whenever we talk about companies who are doing it right, I'm almost kind of choke when I want to say, okay, here's one company doing it right. Because if somebody listens to this in an archive next week, they might have flubbed horribly and said something terrible by the time they read it again. But I try not to really go there. I've got a couple of people who are kind of in the industry as providers to decorators who I think of. People at Stalls do a great job. They really keep up on blogging. They have for years, and they do a lot of videos. And they use sharing information, that valuable information about how you use their products to get you to use their products. And I think maybe it's not as direct as that, but they do a good job of that. Or people like, there's the stock design company Urban Threads, and though they do a lot with home market as well as commercial, it's a lot of home market people, you will see that they provide this great visual content, which is another thing that's really important to remember. Visual content's huge. You have to have pictures. You have to have video these days. It's just important if you want to catch people's eyes while someone's scrolling a feed. They do a lot of great visual content, a lot of how-to stuff, a lot of useful information. And I think no matter what you go to, if you're using your pitch sparingly, that's the first thing to remember. Don't pitch all the time. You really want to keep that light. And if you provide valuable information, you're being genuine, you're presenting a genuine voice about what your company is about, their purpose, I think you're on the right track. And following the people who do that, that's what's going to help you.
Okay, Eric. Well, that was a lot of great information. I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to share with us. Thanks so much.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, what Eric said was pretty interesting, especially, I know personally, like, I kind of ignore, like if I can't find a company's website, I don't really want to deal with them. I mean,
Yeah,
just
if you
sort of
can't
dismiss
find
them.
them online, you,
Yeah.
you don't think they're legitimate.
Right.
So instantly
Right.
that raises red flags.
Right. Like if I'm researching a story, like the first thing I do is look for their website, and if I can't find them, like I don't even know if I want to talk to this person.
Yeah.
But that's, so that's all very important things to remember. But switching gears a little bit, I'm going to talk about some crazy stunts that job seekers have used to try and impress a hiring manager. I guess Career Builder had asked more than 2,000 hiring and human resource managers throughout the country to share some of these stories. So these are kind of like what not to do if you're looking for a job. I think I don't think these were very successful tricks, but they're kind of funny. So I guess a candidate once lit a corner of their resume on fire to show their burning desire for the job. Another one had a cake delivered to the hiring manager that had the words, congratulations, so-and-so got the job. Another one had his daughter call the hiring manager in advance to thank him for giving her dad a job.
Wow.
That's kind of, that's that's really bleak, actually, especially if it's like a little kid.
Yeah.
Oh. Let's see, what was another one that was fun? Oh, one of them gift wrapped her resume. And
as in a present or something.
Yeah,
like that?
I guess like with like packaging, and
Oh, wow.
you unwrap it and oh look, it's a resume. But another one brought a bag of props into the interview and pulled them out as they were relevant toward the questions and answers.
Was that Carrot Top?
Could be, or the guy. What's that watermelon guy?
Yeah, Gallagher, right?
Yeah. That'd be a little messy. And then what's another? Oh, another one sent the hiring manager a coupon for a free meal, which is kind of like cheap, actually. Like if you're gonna bribe them.
Yeah, if you're gonna bribe, you can go big, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, all those things all those things sound kind of corny.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are things that are sort of like high risk, but could potentially pay off, but could sort of blow up in your face.
Right.
I'm reminded. Have you ever watched How I Met Your Mother?
I watched a couple seasons.
So there's
do
you remember a thing called the Naked Man? Do you remember that?
Oh, it sounds vaguely familiar.
So how it works is if if you're going back to the person's house and she goes to like freshen up or go to the bathroom, stuff like that, and it's like a Hail Mary. You take off all your clothes and you're just sitting on the couch and you're naked when she comes back out, and there's either two things. She could either be totally freaked out and or it could totally work in your favor. So that's what I think of with these stunts. It's high risk, high reward. It could totally blow up in your face, but who knows? You might end up with the job.
Yeah, it might work. Okay, now I do remember that now, actually. It came back to me.
All right, well, I'll try not to pull those stunts whenever I find another job, right? So talking about Warren Buffett here, he's obviously he's sort of the American folk hero as far as the economy goes in finance. And I think there's a ton of people that look up to him. So I have here 17 different quotes from him that are meant to inspire and keep you moving forward. So we won't read all 17, but I'll throw out about five or so that I thought were worthwhile. So the first one: in the world of business, the people who are most successful are those who are doing what they love. So I think it's pretty standard. You hear a lot of people just follow your passion. So I agree with that. Number two: it's better to hang out with people better than you. Pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours, and you'll drift in that direction. Now, I think that's valuable because I think a lot of managers they like to hire other people that are similar than them, or hire yes men and women. And it's good to sort of hire find people who have strengths where your weaknesses are, because that'll make you better in addition to covering your weakness.
Right.
Number three: the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. So I like that because, especially in this business, if you look at it from a sales perspective, if you say yes to every customer, your time gets taken up just by, low value, and maybe and you're not doing all the things that you could be doing to increase the value of your business and aim higher. So saying successful people, they're more judicious in which opportunities they go for. I thought that was pretty valuable.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say no sometimes. I think that's a hard lesson to learn, but it's important to know when to say no, because especially when you're working, you always want to say yes because you don't want to be looked at as a person who is negative or doesn't want to do the work. But sometimes you have to say no.
Right, like hey CJ, do you want to host a radio show? No, I'm not interested. Sorry. So I'll keep that in mind. Number four: it is not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. I like that a lot because people think that to get to a major goal, it just takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. It takes things beyond your reach. Well, anytime you talk about a goal, how does it start with? Just a couple steps. So all those little things add up, just like at a company. Everybody doing these little things add up to a big goal. So if you compartmentalize those efforts, it can add up to something big. I like that a lot. And so one more. This sounds good. I don't know what it means. So maybe you can give me some insight. Honesty is a very expensive gift. Don't expect it from cheap people. So what do you think that means?
Don't expect it from cheap people.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds. It does sound good. I guess if people are cheap, they're not. They don't care about I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it does. It sounds like it's like self-explanatory.
Right.
But
yeah, I
really
didn't take cheap literally. But I guess it's just in terms of honest advice that's useful for you.
Right.
It's not easy. It's not easy to get. It takes a little effort to extract that from people, whether that's just from taking the extra steps to ask them to go that extra mile, something like that. I mean, I think it's like the quote sounds cool. I'm trying to extract all the meaning from it. But there's a lot of good quotes here. We'll put this up on the website for people to look at.
Right. All right. So that's all the time we have today. I hope that you've enjoyed it and have a great day.